Hello, this is Gareth from Creative Conners. In this video today, we're going to go over some advanced cue techniques. To get started, I want to show you how to delete movements out of a cue. We've got a few cues here, and in this range of 4, 5, and 6, I have all motors in each of these cues. I want to delete some movements out until I have only one motor in each cue. To delete a motor, I simply right-click on the movement and say Delete Movement. Spikemark asks me to confirm the deletion of the movement, and I just accept. So I'm going to go through here and delete out some of these extra movements that I don't want for now. Great. So now we have cues 4, 5, and 6, each with a single motor. I want these cues to be linked together in a sequence so that cue 5 follows cue 4 after 2 seconds, and then cue 6 follows cue 5 after 2 seconds. To link cues 4 and 5 together, I'm going to add a link to cue 5 by pressing the Add Link button. I select cue 4 as the parent cue, specify that I want a time link, and click OK. Now I have a link editing box where I can enter in the time delay. 2 seconds is what I'm looking for today. And now I'll add another link to cue 6, this time selecting cue 5 as the parent cue, a time link, and 2 seconds. Alright, let's load our cue sequence to see how this works. I load cue 4 and press the Run button. 2 seconds later, cue 5 starts, and then 2 seconds after that, cue 6 starts. So here we were able to trigger a chain reaction of cues by linking them together off of a time delay. Let's go ahead and start adding in another set of cues. We'll add cue 7, and let's go ahead and add another cue 8. Let's add the deck winch into cue 7. I'm going to select a spike and choose the stage right position. And then I'll have my turntable in cue 8, and I will have it rotate back to 0. And we're going to speed this up a bit so it doesn't take quite so long. Something interesting has happened here that I'd like to point out. I entered in a total time of 10, and yet you can see that I've been forced to accept a total time of 16.5 seconds. My request of a total time of 10 seconds exceeded the maximum speed programmed in for this motor. So what's happened instead is Spikemark has put in the maximum speed of 20 degrees per second and recomputed the total time, telling me that 16.5 is as fast as we're going to be able to make this motor move. I still want this to go the cue to finish a little faster than that, so maybe I won't send it as far just for this demonstration. Let's go halfway around. Great, now it's 7.5 seconds. That's a little more palatable. I want to link these two cues together, and in this instance I want to link it so that the turntable starts to rotate when my platform gets to around position 300 inches. So we're going to link these two together as a position link to cue 7. I have to select which motor I want to drive the cue link. In this situation, there's only a single motor in the cue, so I'll select the deck winch. The position to trigger off of is going to be position 300. So this means that whenever the deck winch gets to position 300, cue number 8 will load and run. Alright, let's see this in action. I load up cue 7 and press Run. Now let's watch our position here. As we pass position 300, there we go, our turntable starts to move, and off it goes. This can be really helpful for links where you need one motor to clear out of the way for another motor. Alright, let's look at our last type of link by adding another couple of cues. Cue 9 and Q10. Great. We'll put our elevator in this queue. and our deck winch in, and then we'll have the turntable follow. We'll have the elevator come all the way up. We'll have the wagon go off stage, and let's have the turntable return to home. And we'll enter in a time for this cue of 10 seconds, and a time for these cues of 15 seconds. Now I want to link these two cues together. So I'm going to link cue number 10 as a completion link to cue number 9. So as soon as cue number 9 finishes up, cue 10 will run. We load and go. And fantastic. Alright, now that we've talked about some cue linking, let's look at another way to build cues. So far in all these demonstrations, I've been editing cues directly in the cue grid. We can also graphically build cues in the stage viewer by adding a cue, inputting which motors we want to be in this cue, and then selecting the preview mode checkbox in the stage viewer. In preview mode, the display changes to a light background to indicate that we are previewing the cues. All motors that are in the queue are shown in orange. In Q11, all motors are in this queue, so they're all orange currently. If we wanted to change the position of a motor in this queue, we could select a spike mark for it to travel to. If I want this now to go maybe to the midway point, I'll have to rotate beneath the stage so I can select this, and then click on the spike. For the turntable, if I want it to go to 90 degrees, I can click on its spike. Another neat feature of preview mode is that you can see where every motor will be at any point in the show. So if I select Q10 in the cue grid, we get to see that even though the deck winch is not currently in Q10, it shows us where the deck winch will be during Q10. The deck winch last moved in Q9 to its offstage spike. If we select Q8, we'll see that the deck winch's position has changed. That's because the deck winch will have last moved at Q7 when we're previewing Q8. So at this point in the show, we would expect that the deck winch would be all the way over stage right, our elevator would be in the basement, and our turntable is moving to its halfway spike. Alright, let's go back to our new Q11. Let's edit our spikes one last time and get out of preview mode. When we exit preview mode, our motors return to their actual positions. Now I've made a bit of a mistake here. In Q10, my turntable is positioned at home, and in Q11 I'm trying to move it to home again. It won't move at all if I do that. So let's bop back into preview mode and just quickly select a new spike for the turntable. Great, it'll go to 3/4 position instead. Alright, with all those spikes set, let's load our cue and run it. Great, and it finished up just as we would have expected. The last thing I want to show you is how to delete an entire cue. Just as we could delete a single movement by right-clicking and selecting Delete Movement, we can delete an entire cue by right-clicking and selecting Delete Queue. Notice that if we do this to a queue that has a link attached to it, when we right-click and delete queue, the link is removed automatically for us as well. To delete a link, we just do the same thing. Right-click, delete link. That wraps up our quick look at some advanced queuing techniques. Stay tuned for more Spikemark tutorials.